Hi friends, let's talk about what is Agile. As per dictionary, Agile is your ability to adapt quickly in the ever evolving environment. We can take example of animal cheetah who is very much adaptable, or you can say in the environment which is surrounding it, which is keep on changing. The same name now has been adopted in our software development. So earlier, to understand from the software development perspective what is Agile, first we need to understand what was the earlier method which was used for software development, which we called as a waterfall development or a traditional model of software development. As you can see, what in waterfall, just like the water falls from top to bottom in one direction, similarly in waterfall model, what happens is that we do analysis, design, development, testing and release in sequential and linear way. Means that yeah, if any changes has to be there in a requirement in later stage, you have to again go back to the first stage to implement it. And this thing is will increase your cost, and you can say the effort and everything will exponentially grow if your changes or any bug you detect later in stage of your development. Now, this thing leads to the problem is that you are unable to deliver the software on time, and you are delayed in going to the market. So, to overcome all this thing, there were around 17 developers in the year 2000 2001 which sit together and they did the brainstorming that what approach should we follow so that we can adopt to our environment where the requirements are not clear, and projects are very complex, so that we can do the timely delivery and within budget, right? And that thing, our delivery should be acceptable to the customer. Now, to have this thing, they come up with you can what we now called as Agile Manifesto and the 12 principle. When we talk about the Agile Manifesto, Agile Manifesto means that focus should be given more on the working software than comprehensive documentation. Like in traditional model, lots of focus is being given on what you called as a SRS, software requirement specification, high level design, low level design, test cases, and all those things. Though those things are required, but more focus should be given on the working software. Similarly, the second point from the Agile Manifesto is that we need to focus on customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Like if they suppose any change request is there, so we try to stick to our original plan or original contract, and try to go for the, you can say, the change request via the change request method or new contract subcontract. So now instead of this, the agile approach wants us with that we should follow the customer collaboration. Similarly, we should follow the responding to the change over sticking to the plan, right? And similarly, individual interaction over process and tools. Just like that, as per Agile Manifesto, they said that yeah, the all those things, traditional methods, they are useful, but they give more emphasis on the things which are on the left of the model, right? So similarly, in the agile, to implement all those things, we are having different methodologies which we call as scrum methodology, kanban methodologies, extreme programming methodology, crystal, dynamic system development method. Similarly, if you talk about they were having the 12 agile principles, right, over which they want us that if we want to go in agile model, we need to follow all these 12 principles, right? Let's talk about the 12 agile development principles. If we talk about the first principle, it tells about that customer satisfaction through early and continuous software delivery. What do we mean by this is that if we give our delivery to the customer as soon as possible, like in small chunks or an early delivery, it will make them happy, right? Instead of giving the one big delivery at the end of the development, we need to give him intermediate delivery. So what the advantage of it is that advantage of it is that customers are happier when they receive the working software at regular interval, instead of getting one single delivery at the end of you can say the as we used to do in traditional model. Now we talk about the second principle. Second principle asks us that we need to accommodate changing requirements through the development process. What do you mean by it? It means that we need to have the ability to avoid delays when the requirement or future request changes. Right? It means is that we need to welcome the changes whenever they are, whenever we get the changes from the customer or due to the market condition. Now the third principle asks us that we need to give the frequent delivery of working software. So what do we mean by frequent delivery of working software is that the team needs to operate in, like you can say, in the software sprints or iteration to ensure the regular delivery of working software. If you ask me that uh, how we can achieve it in sprint methodology, what we used to do is that we give the delivery in every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or 4 weeks interval, whatever is directed by the Scrum team. This is how we achieve it. Now, if we ask you about the fourth principle, which is asking about the collaboration between the business stakeholder and the development throughout the project. Earlier, what used to happen is that interaction was only taking place at the end of delivery, right? Or only through the project manager, through the stakeholder. In current environment, better decisions are made when business and technical teams are aligned. Like in Scrum methodologies, what we have frequent interaction in every 2 weeks or 4 weeks with the critical stakeholder, and we do have the product owner with us. And then we have the what you call the fifth principle. Fifth principle talks about that is that we need to have the support and trust and motivate the people involved. Why? What is the requirement of? Why do we need to support and people who are involved into the development? The purpose for it is that motivated teams are more likely to deliver the best work than unhappy teams. What happened in traditional model? We used to have lots of delivery pressure, and teams were generally unhappy because they have to meet the deadline, and they have to burn the midnight oil to deliver the project on time. So that pressure makes the team unhappy. Now, sixth principle talks about that we need to have face-to-face interaction. It's based on the what your recommendation that when communication happens face to face, it's more successful, right? And it reduces the filter, or you can reduces the noise when we don't have the face to face communication. A lot of misunderstanding might happen, but when we are communicating face to face, then that communication is turned as the best mode of communication, right? And specifically if it promote that when development team needs to co-locate, but at now distributed architecture point of view, or where teams are distributed across multiple platforms, how we do it, we use it via Zoom. And Zoom, we prefer teams to switch on their webcam, so that at least they can have face-to-face interaction. Now, seventh principle talk about that working software is the primary measure of progress. Earlier, what we used to have the progress of measure is that if someone asks us that how much amount of work has been done, we give them that 30% is done, 40% is done based on my analysis stage, design stage, or development stage, right? Even if no development work has been started, but I have finished my designing part, so I used to say that my 30% work is done. But no, but in agile perspective, progress will be measured only how much percentage of work which I've delivered is working, right? From the what we call it, from the software perspective. That's why we call it working software. Like delivery function software to the customer is the ultimate factor that measures the progress, right? And nothing else. How many documentation I have done, what are my progress is there? No, only the software which is working at the customer end, that will decide your completion work, right? And when the eighth principle is talk about the agile process to support consistent development pace. Like in a traditional model, what we used to have in during analysis, designing, and developments, we used to, you can say, pick up the pace, right? Analysis, we used to have the little bit of slow pace. We used to do the development in slow pace, then in designing and then development. But as soon as we approaches near the deadline or delivery date, we used to do lots of, you can say, pressure has to be there to deliver it on time, or you can say that so that I can meet the deadline. So there is inconsistency in the, you can say, development pace. But Agile promote for the consistency pace, right? Like teams establish a repeatable and maintainable speed at which they can deliver working software, and they can repeat it with each release, like each subsequent release. like our 2 weeks sprint or 3 weeks sprint, based on the capacity which team is having, they do the delivery only based on the capacity of the team. They do not or do the overcommit, right? And then the ninth principle talks about the attention to the technical details and design enhance agility. It means is that the right skills and good design ensure the team can maintain peace and constantly improve the product and sustain changes. If we talk about the 10th principle, it's called simplicity. It means we are going to develop a software uh, without any gold plating. What does it mean is that need to do the development of just enough to get the job done for the right now, which is current requirement, right? So that is based on simplicity principle. 11th option talks about the self-organizing team encourages great architecture requirement and design. What does it mean? That it means that skilled and motivated team members who have the decision making power take ownership, communicate regularly with other team members, and share ideas that deliver the quality product. This means that we give the ownership to the team member to how they need to govern within the team and run the project within the team. And the last option is that regular reflection on how to become more effective. It means is that we need to team has to go for the self improvement, process improvement, advanced skills, technical helps which make them team more efficient. So if we go by Scrum methodology, we have different um, uh, ceremonies are there in place, like retrospective is there, review is there, daily stand up is there, where which gives you platform to implement all those things. So, if we want to conclude that what do we mean by agile, we can clearly state that it's an alternative to the traditional project management method, right, of software development. That's that was the requirement which gave to birth to the agile methodology. I hope you have liked the explanation over here. Please do let us know how do you feel about it in the comments below. We have also given link to our given blog. If you want to know more about it, please go and visit our blog. Thank you.